The sound of expensive cutlery scraping against fine china filled the dining room of my family's mansion as I pushed my food around my plate, trying to tune out my sister Olivia's latest speech about her corporate achievements. And then she announced, swirling her red wine, "The board unanimously approved my proposal for the Asian expansion. We're projecting a 30% increase in revenue by next quarter." I glanced at my parents, watching their faces glow with pride. Dad, CEO of Blake Industries, nodded approvingly while Mom reached over to squeeze Olivia's hand. This was our traditional Christmas dinner, a celebration of the family business and its rising star. "What about you, Sophie?" Mom turned to me, her smile fading slightly. "Still working on that. What do you call it?" "Nexus Technologies," I supplied, straightening in my chair. "And yes, we're actually—" "Her little startup," Olivia interrupted with a laugh. "What is it now? 2 years? And still working out of that tiny office downtown?" I bit my tongue, resisting the urge to correct her. The tiny office was just a front. What my family didn't know was that Nexus Technologies had quietly become one of the fastest-growing software companies in the country. We operated under various shell companies, our true ownership hidden behind layers of corporate structuring. "Someone has to try something new," I said carefully. "Not everyone wants to work for the family business." Dad set down his fork, his expression hardening. "The family business that put you through Stanford? That paid for your MBA? That same business you turned your back on?" "I didn't turn my back on anything," I replied. "I chose to build something of my own." "Build?" Olivia snorted. "Sophie, let's be honest. You're playing entrepreneur while the rest of us do real work. Blake Industries is a Fortune 500 company. We're about to launch the biggest expansion in our history. What have you built?" If they only knew. While they'd been focused on their traditional manufacturing business, I had developed an AI-driven supply chain management system that was revolutionizing the industry. Major corporations were already using our software, including several of Blake Industries' competitors. "I'm doing fine," I said simply, taking a sip of wine. "Fine isn't the Blake standard," Mom chimed in. "Look at Olivia, youngest VP in company history, featured in Forbes 30 Under 30. We just want you to live up to your potential, darling." I thought about the email I'd received that morning, an offer from a major tech company to acquire Nexus for $2.8 billion. I turned it down. My plans were much bigger than that. "Speaking of potential," Olivia continued, "the expansion project needs additional funding. Dad, have you considered approaching Morgan Stanley? Their tech division has been very aggressive lately." I hid my smile behind my wine glass. I knew exactly why Morgan Stanley was suddenly interested in manufacturing technology. They'd been trying to get a meeting with Nexus's mysterious CEO for months. "Actually," Dad replied, "we're exploring several options. The market's tighter than we expected, but Blake Industries' reputation speaks for itself." What they didn't know was that their reputation wasn't enough anymore. The manufacturing sector was changing rapidly, and companies that didn't adapt to new technology were being left behind. I'd seen their financials, not as the daughter they dismissed, but as the secret owner of a significant portion of their stock. "Have you considered private equity?" I asked innocently. "I hear Phoenix Capital is looking for manufacturing investments." Olivia rolled her eyes. "Please don't try to give business advice, Sophie. Phoenix Capital doesn't even take meetings with companies our size. They're way out of our league." I nodded thoughtfully, not mentioning that I'd had dinner with Phoenix Capital's CEO last week. Being underestimated had its advantages. "Well," Mom stood up, smoothing her expensive dress, Shall we move to the living room for dessert? Sophie, help me with the dishes. In the kitchen, Mom busied herself with coffee cups while I loaded the dishwasher, a task Olivia was apparently too important to handle. Honey, Mom said softly, I know you think you're proving something with this startup business, but it's time to be realistic. There's always a place for you at Blake Industries. I straightened up, meeting her eyes. I am being realistic, Mom. More realistic than you know. What's that supposed to mean? Before I could respond, my phone buzzed. A text from my CFO. Asian investors confirmed. Ready to proceed with phase 2. I typed back quickly. Green light. Start buying tomorrow. Work? Mom asked disapprovingly. On Christmas? Something like that, I replied, pocketing my phone. The market never sleeps. Back in the living room, Olivia was holding court again, detailing her plans for Blake Industries' future. I settled into an armchair, half listening as she outlined initiatives I knew would never materialize. Their company was already in trouble, though they didn't realize it yet. By this time next year, she declared, we'll have offices in Singapore, Shanghai, and Seoul. The Blake name will be global. Assuming the funding comes through, I murmured. What was that? Dad asked sharply. Nothing, I smiled, just thinking out loud. Later that night, in my penthouse apartment, not the small downtown office my family thought I lived above, I reviewed the latest reports from my team. Nexus had already secretly acquired 43% of Blake Industries stock through various subsidiaries. Tomorrow's buying spree would put us over 51%. My phone lit up with another text, this time from my assistant. Board meeting scheduled for next week. All major shareholders will be present. Perfect, I replied. Time to introduce the real CEO of Nexus Technologies. I walked to my floor-to-ceiling windows, looking out over the city lights. Somewhere out there, my family was probably still congratulating themselves on their business acumen, still pitying their failure of a daughter who couldn't cut it in the real corporate world. In 1 week, they would learn how wrong they'd been. In 1 week, they would discover that the daughter they dismissed had built something far bigger than they could imagine. In 1 week, everything would change. I poured myself a glass of the same expensive wine we'd had at dinner, but this time, I allowed myself to smile. Let them laugh. Let them mock my pathetic startup. Their reaction when they discovered the truth would be worth every condescending comment, every dismissive glance, every family dinner spent biting my tongue. After all, revenge is a dish best served with a controlling interest. The week after Christmas passed in a blur of stealth acquisitions and strategic meetings. From my real office, the entire top floor of a downtown skyscraper, I watched as Nexus Technologies systematically gained control of Blake Industries through carefully orchestrated stock purchases. We've crossed the threshold, my CFO, Michael, announced during our morning briefing. 51.3% ownership as of market close yesterday. Blake Industries is effectively ours. I nodded, studying the real-time stock ticker on my wall. Blake Industries' share price had been declining steadily, a fact my family seemed determined to ignore. Their outdated manufacturing processes and resistance to technological innovation had left them vulnerable. What's the status of their funding search? I asked, though I already knew the answer. Desperate, Michael smiled. Every major bank has turned them down. Morgan Stanley won't even take their calls anymore. They've scheduled an emergency board meeting for tomorrow. My phone buzzed, a text from Olivia. Family dinner tonight. Mandatory. Dad's orders. I smiled, knowing exactly why this dinner had been called. They needed to discuss the company's financial crisis, but they were too proud to do it anywhere but behind closed doors. Time to prepare for the final act, I told Michael. Make sure all our documentation is ready for tomorrow's board meeting. That evening, I arrived at my parents' mansion to find the atmosphere considerably different from Christmas dinner. Gone were the celebratory wines and smug speeches about expansion. Instead, tension hung heavy in the air as we gathered around the dining table. The situation, Dad began without preamble, is more challenging than we anticipated. Several key investors have expressed concerns about our technological infrastructure. Concerns? Olivia scoffed. They're being ridiculous. Our methods have worked for 40 years. I took a sip of water, watching them carefully. Maybe they're worried about competition from more innovative companies. Not you too, Olivia snapped. Just because you play with computers doesn't make you an expert on manufacturing. Actually, I set down my glass. I know quite a bit about modern manufacturing. For instance, did you know that automated supply chain management can reduce operational costs by up to 40%? That's exactly what we don't need, Dad interrupted. More tech talk. We need serious solutions. Like what? I asked innocently. Have you considered selling some shares to raise capital? Mom's fork clattered against her plate. Sell shares? This is a family company, is it? I pulled out my tablet. Because according to public records, ownership has been shifting significantly over the past few months. Olivia leaned forward, her face flushing. What are you talking about? Various investment groups have been quietly acquiring Blake Industries stock. As of today, the Blake family only controls about 30% of the company. Dad stood up so quickly his chair toppled backward. That's impossible. I would know if someone was buying us out. Would you? I asked calmly. When was the last time you actually reviewed the shareholder registry? Or are you too busy dismissing technological innovation as unnecessary? How do you know all this? Olivia demanded. Because, I smiled, I've been watching very carefully. Tomorrow's board meeting should be quite interesting. You're not even on the board, Mom said dismissively. No, but Nexus Technologies' CEO is. As the majority shareholder, we're entitled to a seat. The silence that followed was deafening. 3 pairs of eyes stared at me as understanding slowly dawned. Nexus Technologies? Dad whispered. That's your little startup? Not so little anymore, I replied. We're valued at $4.2 billion as of last quarter. And yes, we now own 51.3% of Blake Industries. Olivia's face had gone completely white. You're lying. That's impossible. I pulled up another document on my tablet and slid it across the table. Here's the complete shareholding structure. You'll notice the various shell companies and subsidiaries all lead back to one parent organization, Nexus Technologies. Why? Mom's voice cracked. Why would you do this to your own family? I didn't do anything to you, I said quietly. I built something revolutionary while you were all too busy mocking me to notice. The fact that I now control the company you thought was too good for me. That's just poetic justice. Dad found his voice, anger replacing shock. You think you can just walk in and take over? We'll fight this. With what resources? I stood up, straightening my jacket. Your company is hemorrhaging money. Your technology is outdated. The only thing keeping your stock price from completely collapsing is the fact that I've been buying it. Get out, Olivia hissed. Get out of this house. I picked up my tablet and headed for the door, pausing only briefly. I'll see you all at tomorrow's board meeting. Oh, and Olivia? About that Asian expansion you were so proud of. It's canceled. We have better plans for the company. As I drove away from the mansion, my phone exploded with messages from family members. I ignored them all except one. From my grandmother, who had always seen my potential. Show them what you've built, dear. It's time they learned what real success looks like. In my office later that night, I reviewed the presentation for tomorrow's board meeting. The plan was comprehensive. A complete technological overhaul of Blake Industries, integration with Nexus's advanced systems, and a new management structure. Michael appeared in my doorway. The board members have been notified of the ownership change. Most of them are anxious to meet the real CEO of Nexus Technologies. I'm sure they are, I smiled. Make sure security is ready tomorrow. I have a feeling my family won't take their demotion quietly. As I looked out over the city lights, I thought about all the family dinners where they dismissed my dreams, all the condescending comments about my little startup. Tomorrow, they would learn the truth about the empire I'd built in silence. And this was just the beginning. The morning of the board meeting dawned clear and cold. I dressed with particular care. A custom-designed power suit that cost more than Olivia's entire wardrobe, though she'd never know it. Today wasn't just about taking control. It was about showing my family exactly who I'd become while they weren't watching. Blake Industries headquarters still bore my grandfather's original bronze plaque in the lobby. I ran my fingers across his name as I passed, wondering what he would think of today's events. He had been the true innovator in the family, before Dad turned the company into a monument to outdated thinking. Good morning, Ms. Blake. The security guard nodded respectfully. He'd clearly been briefed about the new ownership structure. The boardroom was already tense when I arrived. 14 board members sat around the massive mahogany table, with Dad at the head, at least for the next few minutes. Olivia sat at his right hand, her face tight with barely controlled rage. Mom had apparently decided to attend as well, though she had no official role. Now that everyone's here, Dad began, his voice strained. We need to discuss. Actually, I interrupted, taking a seat directly opposite him. As majority shareholder, I'll be conducting this meeting. Michael entered with our legal team, distributing documents to each board member. The room fell silent as they read the first page. This is outrageous, Olivia finally exploded. You can't just walk in here and... I can and I am. I cut her off smoothly. Nexus Technologies now owns 51.3% of Blake Industries. My first act as majority shareholder is to restructure the board. Dad, Olivia, you'll find your resignation letters in those packets. Please sign them. I built this company. Dad slammed his fist on the table. No, I corrected him. Grandfather built this company. You inherited it and refused to let it evolve. Now it's bleeding money and losing market share to more innovative competitors. I nodded to Michael, who started the presentation. Charts and graphs appeared on the room's screens, showing Blake Industries' declining performance against market trends. In the past 5 years, I continued, your profit margins have dropped 40%. Your technology is obsolete. 3 major clients have already jumped ship to competitors using modern supply chain management systems, specifically, systems created by Nexus Technologies. The board members shifted uncomfortably. They'd known things were bad, but seeing the numbers laid bare was shocking. And you think you can fix this? Olivia sneered. With your computers and algorithms? I smiled, clicking to the next slide. We already have. Those same systems you've been mocking have revolutionized manufacturing logistics across the industry. Companies using our platform see an average 60% increase in efficiency, which is why our startup's value has surpassed Blake Industries by several $billion. Mom gasped audibly. Dad's face had turned an alarming shade of red. The choice is simple, I addressed the board. Sign the resignation letters and accept a generous severance package, or face a very public revelation about just how badly you've mismanaged this company. You would destroy your own family's reputation. Mom asked incredulously. You mean the family that never believed in me? That dismissed every achievement because it didn't fit your narrow definition of success. I stood up, commanding the room's attention. I'm not destroying anything. I'm saving this company from your outdated leadership. The board members were already signing the documents, eager to align themselves with the new power structure. They were business people, after all. They could see which way the wind was blowing. Dad stared at the resignation letter for a long moment before finally picking up his pen. I never thought my own daughter would betray me like this. Funny, I replied. I never thought my father would be too proud to see the future of his own industry. I guess we both had blind spots. As security arrived to escort them out, Olivia turned back for one last shot. You'll regret this. You have no idea how to run a real company. I laughed genuinely for the first time that day. My little startup is worth $4.2 billion. I've revolutionized an entire industry while you were playing corporate dress-up. I think I'll manage. After they left, I moved to the head of the table, my grandfather's old seat. Now, shall we discuss the real future of Blake Industries? The next few hours were a blur of strategic planning and reorganization. By the end of the day, Blake Industries had a new board, a new direction, and a new connection to the technological innovations that would save it. 1 week later, the business world was buzzing with the news. Techish Protevigiwi, REVAL Secret Empire. Next U.S. Technology CEO, Techi Skolentiorol, a FAMIOYBUSINES, Sophie Bielaki. The hidden Bilionair. I received exactly one message from my family, a handwritten note from my grandfather, who had been quietly watching from his retirement. You did what I always hoped someone would. You brought Blake Industries into the future. I'm proud of you, kid. The note now sits framed in my office, next to the original business plan for Nexus Technologies that my family had laughed at years ago. Every morning, I look at them both and remember that success doesn't always look like what others expect it to. 3 months later, Blake Industries stock had doubled. Our integrated technology platform was revolutionizing the manufacturing sector, just as I'd predicted. The board members who had so quickly switched allegiance were now falling over themselves to praise my vision. Dad and Olivia eventually tried to reconcile, of course, once the company's success became impossible to ignore. I received elaborate apologies, explanations about how they'd only wanted what was best for me, invitations to family dinners where they promised things would be different. I declined them all. Instead, I sent a simple response. The time for family dinners is past. If you'd like to schedule a meeting, please contact my office. We can discuss your future roles in the company, starting at entry level, of course. Everyone needs to learn the basics of modern manufacturing. They never replied. Now, 1 year later, I sometimes drive past our old family mansion, remembering all those dinners where they dismissed my little startup. The house seems smaller somehow, less imposing. Or maybe I'm just seeing it through new eyes, the eyes of someone who built something bigger than they could imagine. Last week, A young intern asked me why I'd kept my company secret for so long, why I'd let my family underestimate me until I could take control. Sometimes, I told her, being underestimated is the greatest advantage you can have. People show their true nature when they think you're beneath them, and success is sweetest when no one sees it coming. She nodded thoughtfully, then asked one more question. Was it worth it? Giving up your family for success. I looked out my office window at the city below, at the empire I'd built while they were too busy mocking me to notice. I didn't give up anything, I replied. They gave up on me long ago. I just proved them wrong in the most spectacular way possible. And that, really, was better than any family dinner could ever be. You want to do what? My father's voice echoed through our pristine suburban kitchen, making the designer light fixtures tremble. His face, already red from his third scotch of the evening, darkened to an alarming shade of purple. I want to start a software company, I repeated, trying to keep my voice steady. I've already developed a prototype. It's a platform that helps small businesses. Absolutely not. He slammed his glass down. We didn't pay for your Stanford degree so you could waste your life on some pipe dream. You're joining the family business. End of discussion. I looked at my mother, hoping for support. She sat perfectly still at our marble island, maintaining her usual careful distance from conflict. The diamond tennis bracelet I'd given her for Christmas, bought with my savings from secret freelance coding jobs, glinted on her wrist. Mom, I tried. You've seen how many small businesses are struggling with digital transformation. My platform could really help. Daniel. She sighed, examining her manicure. Your father's right. This tech obsession of yours, it's not practical. Norton Industries needs you. The company's been in the family for 3 generations. What they really meant was that Norton Industries, our family's industrial supply business, was failing. They needed my programming skills to modernize their outdated systems, to help them compete in a rapidly digitizing market. But I had bigger dreams. I'm not asking for money, I said. I have savings. I just need some time, Time? My father barked out a laugh. You want time to play with computers while real businesses are at stake. While your sister is already making partner at her law firm. Ah, yes, my perfect older sister Sophia. Harvard Law, youngest partner in her firm's history, married to a surgeon. The standard against which all my failures were measured. This isn't playing, I insisted. I've already got interest from potential clients. Small businesses need affordable software solutions, and the big tech companies aren't serving them. My platform cooled. The glass shattered against the wall inches from my head. Enough! My father roared, whiskey dripping down the expensive wallpaper. You have a choice. Join Norton Industries on Monday or get out. See how long you last without our support. My mother flinched at the noise, but said nothing. She never did. I looked at them both, my father trembling with rage, my mother avoiding my eyes, and made the decision that would change everything. I choose out. What? I'm leaving. I stood up, surprisingly calm. Good luck modernizing Norton Industries without me. You ungrateful. My father started toward me, but I was already heading upstairs. I had known this moment might come. My backpack was already packed with essentials: laptop, portable hard drive, 2 changes of clothes. My important documents were safely stored in a safety deposit box. Most of my savings were in an account my parents couldn't access. You have 1 hour. My father shouted up the stairs. Then I want you out of this house. I grabbed my emergency bag, my favorite hoodie, and took one last look at my childhood bedroom. The walls still displayed my coding competition medals, science fair awards, the framed article about the app I developed in high school that had caught Stanford's attention. My phone buzzed. A text from my best friend Marcus. Operation Escape still on. Happening now, I typed back. Plan B initiated. Marcus and I had gamed out this scenario months ago, when I first decided to pursue my startup dreams. He had a small apartment above his family's restaurant where I could crash until I got on my feet. As I headed for the door, my mother finally spoke. Daniel, please, be reasonable. Your father only wants what's best. No, I cut her off. He wants what's best for Norton Industries. There's a difference. I walked out without looking back. The first night in my car was surreal. I'd parked on a quiet street 2 blocks from my parents' house, close enough to maintain a strong connection to their high-speed Wi-Fi network, which I'd installed and secured myself, far enough that they wouldn't spot me. My laptop glowed in the darkness as I continued coding, the familiar rhythm of keystrokes drowning out the voice in my head that whispered I was making a huge mistake. You sure about this? Marcus asked when he brought me dinner. Is Mother's incredible pad thai? My couch is still available. I shook my head, showing him my workspace. Laptop, mobile hotspot for backup internet, power bank for emergencies. I need to stay mobile for now. Can't risk them finding me and trying to force me back. He peered at my screen. What exactly are you building? I pulled up my prototype's interface. I call it Smart Start. It's an all-in-one digital platform for small businesses. Point of sale, inventory management, customer relationships, online presence. Everything they need to compete in today's market, but simplified and affordable. Like what your dad's company needs? Similar, but designed for smaller businesses that can't afford enterprise solutions. I thought of all the local shops I'd seen struggle and fail because they couldn't keep up with digital transformation. There's a huge market being ignored by big tech. Marcus nodded slowly. His family's restaurant still used paper order tickets and a cash register from the 1990s. How long until it's ready? Basic version? 2 months. I've got most of the core functions working. Just need to polish the interface and add some features. What I didn't tell him was that I was also secretly documenting everything wrong with Norton Industries systems. Every vulnerability, every inefficiency, every missed opportunity for digital innovation. Not out of spite, but because I knew that someday they'd need exactly what I was building. They just didn't know it yet. Life settled into a strange routine. During the day, I'd work from various coffee shops, buying the minimum necessary to justify using their space and Wi-Fi. At night, I'd park near my parents' house, using their high-speed connection to upload code and run complex tests. I lived on protein bars, coffee, and Marcus's family's leftovers. Showered at a cheap gym membership. Learned which parking lots were safe to sleep in and which to avoid. It wasn't comfortable, but it was productive. Without distractions, without my father's constant criticism, or my mother's passive disappointment, I could focus entirely on building Smart Start. 1 week in, my sister Sophia tried to intervene. This is ridiculous, Daniel, she said when she tracked me down at my usual coffee shop. You're living in your car to prove what? That you can be as stubborn as Dad. I didn't look up from my coding. I'm building something important. You're throwing away a guaranteed future with the family business. The family business is dying, I said bluntly. Dad's too proud to admit it. But their systems are ancient, their processes are inefficient, and their competitors are eating them alive. then help fix it. I finally met her eyes. That's exactly what I'm doing, just not the way they want. She left in frustration, but not before leaving a thick envelope on my table. Inside was $5,000 in cash with a note. Don't be an idiot. Come home. I used the money to buy a better laptop and upgrade my development tools. The breakthrough came in month 2. I'd been approached by several small businesses interested in beta testing Smart Start, a local bookstore, a family-owned hardware store, a growing food truck business, all struggling with exactly the problems my platform was designed to solve. This is exactly what we need, the bookstore owner said after I demonstrated the inventory management system. QuickBooks is too complicated, and the custom solutions are too expensive. How much would this cost? I quoted a price that made her eyes light up, deliberately lower than market rate, designed to build word of mouth. By month 3, I had paying customers. Small amounts, but steady income. Enough to rent a tiny studio apartment, though I kept it off the lease to stay under my parents' radar. Then came the call that changed everything. Is this Daniel Norton? The voice was professional, authoritative. Yes, this is Charles Widener from Tech Fund Ventures. We've been hearing interesting things about your Smart Start platform. My heart stopped. Tech Fund Ventures was one of the most prestigious early-stage investors in the country. One of our portfolio companies mentioned your solution. Said it's exactly what the small business market needs. Would you be interested in discussing potential investment? I gripped my phone tighter, thinking of all the nights coding in my car, all the meals skipped to buy server time, all the doubts and fears pushed aside to pursue this dream. Yes, I said, I would definitely be interested. What I didn't know then was that this conversation would set in motion a chain of events that would not only validate my vision, but also bring me face to face with my family's business failures in a way none of us could have predicted. The Tech Fund Ventures office occupied the top floor of a gleaming downtown skyscraper, exactly the kind of place my father would approve of. I adjusted my one good suit, bought secondhand for investor meetings, and tried not to look like someone who'd been living in his car 2 months ago. Charles Widener was younger than I expected, maybe early 40s, with the relaxed confidence of someone who'd made his fortune in the first .com boom. Walk me through it again, he said, gesturing to the conference room's massive display where my Smart Start demo was running. I pulled up the interface that had become as familiar as my own reflection. Small businesses are drowning in digital complexity. They need e-commerce, inventory management, customer relationship tools, but existing solutions are either too expensive, too complicated, or too limited. I demonstrated how a small business owner could set up their entire digital presence in under an hour. Point of sale, inventory tracking, customer communications, even basic analytics, all integrated, all simple enough for anyone to use. And this scales? Charles asked. Completely. The architecture is cloud-based, modular. We can add features as businesses grow, integrate with other platforms, but the core stays simple. He nodded slowly. And your current users? 28 paying customers, all from word of mouth. 0 churn rate. Average user engagement is 4 hours daily. That's impressive. He pulled up another screen. My company's incorporation documents. Innovative Solutions LLC. Registered 6 months ago. Yes, all self-funded so far. He studied me carefully. You're Jonathan Norton's son. My heart skipped. You know my father? Norton Industries was one of my first investments, back in the day, before your father bought out the minority shareholders. His expression turned thoughtful. They're having trouble adapting to digital markets, I hear. I kept my face neutral. I wouldn't know. I'm not involved with Norton Industries. Interesting. He tapped his tablet, and a new document appeared on the screen. We'd like to offer you seed funding. $2 million for a 20% stake. I tried not to show how my hands were shaking. $2 million. More money than I'd ever imagined having access to. There's one condition, Charles continued. We want you to expand your focus. Small businesses are good, but mid-sized enterprises need these solutions too. Companies like, say, Norton Industries. And there it was. The trap I'd been both expecting and dreading. You want me to target my family's business. He smiled slightly. I want you to target a market segment that desperately needs modernization. The fact that your father's company might benefit is incidental. I thought about all the nights I'd spent parked outside my parents' house, using their Wi-Fi to build something they'd dismissed. About my father's rage and my mother's silence. About the small businesses already thriving with Smart Start. I'll need full control of the company's direction, I said. No interference with the core mission. Of course. He slid a folder across the table. Have your lawyers review it. But Daniel, don't wait too long. This market won't stay open forever. I signed the deal 3 days later, after my sister Sophia, still a better lawyer than she knew, reviewed every clause. You're really doing this, she said, handing back the marked-up documents. Going directly against Dad's business. I'm building something that could save his business, I corrected, if he's willing to see it. She shook her head. You know he won't. Not coming from you. She was right, of course, but I had a plan for that too. The next 6 months were a blur of scaling up. I rented real office space, a converted warehouse that would have given my mother a heart attack. Hired developers, designers, sales staff. Marcus came on as head of customer success, his experience with small business owners proving invaluable. Smart Start grew faster than even Charles had predicted. Word spread through business communities about the platform that actually delivered on its promises. Our user base exploded from dozens to hundreds, then thousands. Then came the article that changed everything. Digital David versus Goliath. How Smart Start is disrupting enterprise software. The tech press had finally noticed us. The article praised our innovation, our focus on user experience, our ability to help small businesses compete with larger corporations. It also mentioned, almost as an aside, that I was the estranged son of Jonathan Norton. My phone rang minutes after the article went live. Sophia. Dad's furious, she said without preamble. He's calling an emergency board meeting. Why? Smart Start isn't competing with Norton Industries. No, but 3 of their biggest customers just announced they're switching to your platform. I sat back, stunned. We've been so focused on small businesses, I hadn't noticed the mid-sized companies starting to adopt Smart Start. There's more, Sophia continued. Their latest quarterly numbers. They're bad, Daniel. Really bad. The board is talking about forcing Dad out if he doesn't modernize their systems. I pulled up Norton Industries' public financial reports. The numbers were worse than I'd imagined. Their stock had dropped 40% in 6 months. Customer churn was accelerating. Their ancient software systems were literally driving them toward bankruptcy. They need help, I said quietly. They need you, she corrected. But you know Dad will never admit it. I thought about Charles Wagner's words about targeting mid-sized enterprises, about all the features we'd built into Smart Start that could save companies exactly like Norton Industries. Maybe, I said slowly. They don't need to know it's me. That night, I called an emergency meeting of my own team. We're launching enterprise solutions, I announced, pulling up the prototype I'd been quietly developing. A new division focused on larger businesses, built on the Smart Start framework, but with additional features for complex operations. Marcus frowned. I thought we were staying focused on small business. We are. But there's a whole segment of mid-sized companies being crushed between small business agility and big corporation resources. They need what we've built. I didn't mention that every feature in Enterprise Solutions had been designed specifically to solve Norton Industries' problems, that I'd spent months analyzing their weaknesses, building solutions for issues they didn't even know they had yet. The team worked around the clock for weeks. We launched Enterprise Solutions under a new brand, through a subsidiary company that couldn't be easily traced back to me. The marketing targeted companies exactly like Norton Industries, established businesses struggling with digital transformation. Then we waited. It didn't take long. Norton Industries' new chief technology officer, hired in desperation after their last system crash, reached out within days of our launch. The meeting was set for their headquarters. I watched via secure video feed as our sales team, carefully chosen to have no connection to me, presented Enterprise Solutions to my father and his board. I saw the moment he realized this was exactly what they needed. Saw him fight against admitting it. Saw the board members' eager questions about implementation and pricing. The investment would be significant, our sales lead explained, but the potential return. We'll need to see other options, my father interrupted. Jonathan, an older board member, leaned forward. We've seen 12 presentations in 2 months. This is the only solution that actually addresses our specific needs. And their track record. Impressive results with similar companies. Another board member chimed in. My cousin's manufacturing business switched to their system last quarter. Saw immediate improvements. I watched my father's face as he realized he was losing this fight. The board wanted change. Their customers demanded it. Enterprise Solutions was their best chance at survival. Fine, he growled. Start the procurement process. I closed the video feed, feeling strangely hollow. I'd done it. Created exactly what Norton Industries needed. Proved my vision was right. So why didn't it feel like victory? The answer came 3 days later when Sophia called again. Dad's drinking, she said without preamble. Really drinking. Mom's talking about separation. My stomach clenched. Because of Enterprise Solutions? Because he knows he failed. The company's falling apart, and he had to go begging to outsiders for help. She paused. He keeps saying he should have listened to you. I stared out my office window at the city skyline, thinking of all the choices that had led us here. My father's stubbornness, my own pride, the walls of silence we'd built between us. What if? I said slowly. There was a way to save both the company and his pride. How? I have an idea, but I'll need your help. The Norton Industries board meeting was scheduled for 9 a.m. on a Thursday. I sat in my car outside their headquarters, the same spot where I'd once parked to use their Wi-Fi, watching familiar faces file into the building. My father arrived last, looking older than I remembered. His normally immaculate suit was slightly rumpled, his walk less confident than the stride I'd grown up admiring. Everything ready? I asked into my phone. All set, Sophia confirmed. The board members are prepped. Charles Wagner just arrived. And Mom, in position, though she's still not sure about this. I adjusted my tie, designer now, but still not the brand my father would choose. It has to be today. The Enterprise Solutions contract needs board approval by end of week. Good luck, Sophia said softly. Try not to enjoy this too much. I smiled despite my nerves. She knew me too well. The security guard did a double take as I walked in. Last time I'd been here, I'd been escorted out after another fight about joining the family business. Now I was back on my own terms. The boardroom fell silent as I entered. My father's face went from surprised to angry to confused in rapid succession. Charles Wagner, sitting near the head of the table, merely nodded as if he'd been expecting me. "What are you doing here?" my father demanded. "I'm here to discuss the Enterprise Solutions contract," I said calmly, placing my laptop on the table. "This is a closed board meeting. Security." Actually, Charles interrupted smoothly. "Mr. Norton is here at my request. As the majority investor in Enterprise Solutions, I believe his input is crucial to this discussion." My father's face went pale. "You? What?" I connected my laptop to the display screen, pulling up a familiar interface, but not Enterprise Solutions. Instead, I showed them the original Smart Start dashboard, complete with my earliest notes and sketches. "I started building this the day you kicked me out," I explained. "Using your Wi-Fi, actually, since I was living in my car at the time." The board members shifted uncomfortably. My mother, sitting quietly in her usual corner seat, finally looked directly at me. "Smart Start grew faster than anyone expected," I continued. "Small businesses loved it because it solved real problems simply and affordably. But I knew larger companies needed similar solutions. I switched to the Enterprise Solutions interface. Every feature in this system was designed specifically to address Norton Industries' challenges: the inventory management, the customer tracking, the integration capabilities, all built based on intimate knowledge of what this company needs. "You've been spying on us?" My father's voice shook with rage. "No, I've been trying to save your company. The same company you wanted me to join, but only on your terms." Charles Wagner cleared his throat. "The board has reviewed Mr. Norton's proposal. Enterprise Solutions isn't just a software platform, it's a potential merger opportunity." My father's head snapped up. "Merger?" I pulled up new slides, the detailed merger proposal I'd spent weeks preparing. Smart Start Technology would acquire a controlling interest in Norton Industries, I explained. "But the Norton name stays. The legacy business continues, enhanced by modern technology. And the current CEO transitions to Chairman Emeritus, focusing on strategic partnerships rather than day-to-day operations." The room was absolutely silent. "You want to buy my company?" my father whispered. "I want to save it," I corrected. "Transform it into something that honors its history while embracing the future. But it has to happen now, before the market completely passes you by." My mother spoke for the first time. "Jonathan, listen to him." He turned to her, startled. In 30 years of board meetings, she'd never spoken up. "I've seen what Daniel built," she continued. "What he sacrificed to build it. This isn't about winning or losing. It's about family." "Family?" He barked out a laugh. He abandoned the family business. "No," I said quietly. "I found a different way to support it. Every feature, every innovation in Enterprise Solutions was designed with Norton Industries in mind. Because despite everything, I never stopped believing in what this company could be." I walked over to his chair, pulled up one more document on my tablet. My original business plan, written in my car that first night after being kicked out. The title read, "Project Phoenix, Modernizing Norton Industries Through Independent Innovation." You. He stared at the document, recognition dawning. This was your plan all along. Plan B, actually. Plan A was convincing you to modernize from within. But you weren't ready to listen then. Charles Wagner stood up. The board needs to vote on this merger proposal by end of day. I suggest we take a brief recess to process this information. People filed out, leaving me alone with my father. He sat there, staring at my business plan, looking lost. Why didn't you tell me? He finally asked. Would you have listened? Really listened, not just heard what you wanted to hear. He was quiet for a long moment. You built all this, using our Wi-Fi? I couldn't help but laugh. That's what you're focusing on? No, He ran a hand through his gray hair. I'm trying to understand how my son went from living in his car to offering to buy my company in less than 2 years. The same way you built this company. By seeing an opportunity everyone else missed. By working harder than anyone thought possible. By believing in something bigger than myself. He nodded slowly. Your grandfather would have loved this, you know. He always said the best business lessons come from proving the skeptics wrong. I learned that from you, actually. All those stories about how you built Morton Industries, how you proved everyone wrong who said it would fail. I sat down next to him. I just did it my way, instead of yours. The board voted unanimously to approve the merger. My father, after the longest pause of my life, voted yes. The transition wasn't smooth. Change never is, especially in family businesses. But slowly, surely, Norton Industries began to transform. We kept the name, but modernized the brand. Kept the core business my grandfather had built, but enhanced it with technology that helped it thrive in the digital age. Smart Start's innovation combined with Norton's stability created something neither company could have achieved alone. 1 year later, I sat in what had been my father's office, our office now, since he'd finally accepted the chairman emeritus role. We were reviewing quarterly numbers, which had exceeded all projections. You were right, he said suddenly. I looked up. About what? About everything. The technology. The market changes. The need to adapt. He met my eyes. I was too proud to see it. Too scared of losing control. And now, he gestured at the tablet, showing our latest results. Now I'm proud of what you built. What we're building together. My phone buzzed. A message from Marcus about a potential new acquisition target. Another struggling family business that needed exactly what we created. Speaking of building, I said, pulling up the proposal. What do you think about expanding our enterprise division? He smiled, the real smile I remembered from childhood, before stress and fear had hardened him. Tell me more. Later that night, I drove past our old house. The Wi-Fi signal was still strong. I'd upgraded their system last month, though they didn't know it. I thought about that first night in my car, coding by the glow of my laptop, running on determination and spite and dreams of proving everyone wrong. But success, I'd learned, wasn't about proving others wrong. It was about proving yourself right. About building something so undeniable that even the strongest skeptics have to acknowledge its value. My phone buzzed again, a family dinner reminder from my mother. These were regular events now, though the conversation had shifted from criticism to collaboration, from judgment to genuine interest. Coming, I texted back. Then, because I couldn't resist, using the Wi-Fi to send this. Her response came quickly. Very funny. Your father says bring the new acquisition proposal. And yes, he's actually smiling about it. I smiled too, thinking of how far we come. From rejection to reunion, from competition to collaboration, from using their Wi-Fi in secret to helping them embrace the digital future. Sometimes the best revenge isn't proving someone wrong. It's helping them become right in a whole new way.